WSO is the Canadian Sikh voice, and we pride ourselves on that. And we know there's a lot of trust that's involved and a lot of confidence that's been placed in us. And we endeavor to make sure that we speak on behalf of Canadian Sikhs in a responsible, logical, and persuasive way.
A lot of people don't understand, today you as a youth have the right to wear kirpan because Gurbaj Singh at age 12 took a stand. He was playing in the soccer field, his kirpan fell off. And so other students complained that he's carrying a weapon. The school banned him actually, saying that no, he can't attend the school wearing kirpan. And the case ultimately ended up going to the Supreme Court of Canada. The World Sikh Organization intervened in that particular case.
It caused a national debate. Again, the Sikh community was put under the microscope, and especially the Kirpan.
So the Supreme Court of Canada, recognizing some fundamental truths about the Kirpan is very important. So first of all, they recognize that calling it a weapon is insulting, that it would be wrong and it would be insulting to the Sikh community. Recognizing the Kirpan as a religious item that is acceptable in a multicultural society that Canada represents, also very, very important. And then finding that it can be accommodated, that this isn't an impossible item to accommodate. And looking at it from that objective lens, comparing the Kirpan objectively with other items that are available in daily use, or particularly here in a classroom, whether that's a bat, whether that's an X-Acto knife, whether that's a pair of scissors, how much more dangerous is the Kirpan? Looking at it from that analysis actually set a precedent that we have used in other contexts when it comes to accommodating the Kirpan.
So this is a really great example of how one case and working really hard on one case supports every other Sikh in Canada.
It was really a make or break case that if we as Sikhs want to wear the Kirpan, then if the Supreme Court says no, where does that leave us? I mean, one of the questions that I've heard was asked at the hearing was, well, we're talking about one student who's wearing this Kirpan. What if you have a classroom where you have multiple or all the students wearing Kirpans? Then where would that leave us? And Pulvinder answered, well, that would leave you in Surrey. That's exactly what's already happening. People are wearing Kirpans all across Canada, and the justices needed to hear that.
The precedents that the Multani case set just can't be stated. It was a massive victory for the Sikh community, but this same case gets looked at in many other jurisdictions in the world. Canada has really stood out and is an example of where you can find that right balance of safety but upholding religious freedoms, and the Multani case struck that balance.
It certainly had its rippling effect. We see that with Balpreet Singh, our chief legal counsel's own personal experience with Via Rail and being able to board with his Kirpan intact.
So I'm on first class and they're giving meals to everyone. Every single person in first class gets a steak knife to eat their meal. So on my way back a couple weeks later, this is Ottawa to Toronto, got on the train, I'm removed by security. And they said, well, head office has told us that we will not be allowing the Kirpan. You are free to stow it in your baggage or you can leave. And I said, fine, I'll leave. I'm not going to proceed. So I took that to the Canadian Human Rights Commission. Via Rail had very clearly said that our next steps will be based on what the Supreme Court of Canada says. And if the Supreme Court said no Kirpans in Quebec schools, you can bet that Via Rail would have said, well, we make the same case, no Kirpans on trains. Fundamentally, these cases are about fairness. And it's about saying we belong here and we have a right to live here. In 2017, I learned from a CATSA employee that scissors were actually allowed. He told me, 6 centimeter scissor blades are permitted. So this was something that we took to the government. We said, if scissors are allowed, which are a dual blade, then what would be the issue if we said Kirpans with blades up to 6 centimeters can be worn by Sikh passengers?
And what we needed wasn't an accommodation, but a clarification, a clearly written policy that said that a kirpan that was within their existing policy should be allowed to go through.
It was simply a logical extension of the rules that were already in place. So it wasn't a favor to the Sikh community. It was simply the Sikh community and WSO leading that, saying, this is what's allowed. If you allow this, then how can you possibly not allow this?
Knowing that you can travel on a ferry, a bus, a plane, or a train with your kakars intact adds to the level of confidence. You know that you are a Sikh, but still a member of that Canadian fabric of society. And if someone should ever approach you with some concern or question as to, I don't think you can do that, you can confidently say, no, I can.
There's another accommodation that happened with Tejinder Singh, our current president. He happened to be a witness to an accident, and they wanted him as a witness.
The only option they were giving me was to part ways with my kirpan. Basically what they were saying is you have to make a choice between religious freedoms and your civic duty. When you get subpoenaed to testify, on the subpoena it states failure to appear may result in a warrant being for your arrest. So here on one hand you're being forced, compelled to come into the courthouse, but as a Sikh, as an Amritdhari Sikh, I'm being forced out of the courthouse because of my kirpan.
So he filed a complaint with the Alberta Human Rights Commission.
And I remember there was a hearing. The other side had nothing to say. Like, I gave them examples of how the kirpan is accommodated in places like England in courthouses. I gave them examples of items that are available in a courthouse that are not banned and are arguably more dangerous than a kirpan would be. And it started a dialogue. Like, it broke through that wall because I gave them logical examples, and they then came to negotiate an accommodation, which was then adopted in other jurisdictions. So that accommodation that we negotiated in Toronto was adopted in Alberta, and then was adopted in British Columbia. It was accepted in the Montreal courts. So that's how a precedent is set, and then you can spread that to other places. This was something that we worked directly with government on. So I reached out to the Foreign Affairs Minister's office. John Baird was the Minister of Foreign Affairs at that time. And we worked with his office saying, this is unacceptable. Like, we can wear kirpans into Parliament, that's no issue. We can now wear them into courthouses, that's not an issue. So why are embassies special? So after quite a bit of back and forth, we came up with an accommodation policy, which is that Sikhs can wear their kirpans once again underneath their clothing, no size limits. And this is not just in India, it's anywhere in the world. So even countries where the kirpan is banned, if you have a Canadian embassy there, you can wear your kirpan into that embassy, no issues. When you have embassies like Canada who are saying, well, our doors are open, you can wear your kirpan, it sets a powerful example, and it sends a powerful message that, well, if countries like Canada are allowing it, then really what's the justification for us to not allow it?
For NHL Arenas, the WSO was very proactive. In 2015, the NHL implemented airport-style security in their arenas.
We know that Sikhs are going to want to attend games in person with their kakars intact, hopefully. So if we go through airport security and we have an issue where we have to pack our kirpan in our suitcase in that current present time, what does that mean for when you want to attend a game? Why not get ahead of the problem and say, okay, we know I want to attend a game and I don't want my kirpan to be an issue. Let's open that dialogue. Let's see what the response is.
Literally had to go to every single NHL and NBA arena in Canada. on an individual basis, reach out and say, this is the Kirpan, this is the significance, you have to accommodate. And we were successful. So NHL Arenas across Canada, you can wear your Kirpan and there should be no issues. The Olympics one was fairly seminal. That's where we, WSO, negotiated with the Vancouver Olympics Committee, saying that this is an international event and Vancouver is home to a very large Sikh population. It would be unacceptable for Sikhs to be excluded because of their Kirpans. So that was a negotiation that took place not just with the Olympic Committee, but also with things like bodies like the RCMP, government bodies. And that was an accommodation that was also announced in 2009, I believe. And that was important because once again, it set a precedent, and not just for Canada. If the Olympics could accommodate the Kirpan in Vancouver, then why can't the Olympics accommodate the Kirpan in London or some other setting? And that's actually what's been used. So that's WSO doing work for Sikhs in Canada, but not just for Sikhs in Canada, also for others around the world.
Kirpan accommodation policies, although it might not affect every Sikh, it speaks to the importance of the advocacy work that the organization does.
Every Sikh in Canada who feels like they can express their Sikhi has benefited from the work that World Sikh Organization does. To be able to fly with a Kirpan, to be able to go to work and not be scared, to know who I am and know that I can demand that I be who I am in every Canadian situation, to ride on Via Rail, to go to an NHL game, to go to a courthouse, all of those things have been because of the World Sikh Organization. And the ask is to add WSO to all of the other amazing organizations that you give to. So if you appreciate Sikh rights and civil liberties in Canada, and if you've benefited from the work we do, it takes a long time to do that work. It takes a lot of people and a lot of energy to that work. And the ask is to please support in any way you can.